Hello everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Mackenzie Davis. I'm a Maryland realtor and I also create content about being a realtor, about being a home buyer, and kind of everything in between because I'm everything in between. I own the house that I'm sitting in right now. I also am planning to invest in other properties in the future, so we talk about it all around here. Today's video in particular is a special one because I am going to a closing, but not just any closing. It's actually for my grandparents who I represented on their sale and purchase of this new condo. And not only is it cool to represent them on something like this, but they're also moving back closer to home where we grew up and everything. And it's been a long time since they've been this close. So I'm definitely excited for many reasons today. And I can't wait to have them closer by. I already did my makeup, but I definitely don't want to wear this hoodie to closing. So I'm going to change into my new outfit that I got just for this, and I'll show you guys what it looks like. This is an outfit that I put together. It's so basic, but honestly just classy, cute, good for the memes and the pictures. This top also $10 on clearance. I just got it because I thought it was a good little addition to my business wardrobe. These pants I have in multiple colors from Amazon because they make them in extra long, which as a 5'11" girly is a necessity. Like, I just simply won't buy pants unless they have extra long because I won't tolerate the gap between work pants and shoes. Both options, cheap and great. Love Amazon. So I don't have too much time before I have to leave, but I figured I would sit with you guys and talk a little bit about what closing actually is, what it looks like, and like why it happens, because I think we use a lot of terms in real estate that are confusing and closing day is thrown around all the time, but no one ever really explains what happens or why. So let's kind of go through the process really quick and then we'll talk about the day specifically. When you go under contract on a property, the closing date is set. In your offer, you are saying, I would like to close on this day. And if the seller doesn't counter that date in their response, then when they sign and you sign, it's ratified. That's the closing date. Now you can close earlier than this date because if your lender gets clear to close early, then that's great. But if you have to close after this date for any reason, say something comes up, financing, whatever, you have to get an extension signed. The seller would be the one in that case to have the power to say, I'm actually not going to sign this extension again, or another one, or we'll do this once, whatever it is. I've seen it all. But at the end of the day, it isn't something you really want to come across because it makes things a little bit more risky. And every day that that house is on the market, the seller's losing money. They really want to get it to the closing table. This is also why it's really advantageous to have a shorter closing period. You're able to close in less than 30 days. This looks really great for the seller because they know that you're already through some of those initial financing steps and that they don't have to be collateral to if you can't get financing. As the title team and the lending team and then your realtor work through whatever it is that they need to work through on their respective sides, it's going to be a lot of documents, a lot of signing stuff, and making sure that with a fine-tooth comb you can afford this house and that everything with the house and its deed is good and in good condition for it to be transferred to you. And that takes about 30 days. So at the end of that period, everything will be done, everything will be balanced between the lending and title teams, and then you'll go to the closing table, which is on closing day. It can be done a lot of different ways nowadays, where when you get to that table, it could actually be virtual. You could do it completely remotely without even having to go into an office. Some states, however, do require wet signatures, which is where they require you to like actually sign with a pen. But that also doesn't mean that you have to go in person to an office, because you can do your closings from the house that you're purchasing. You can do them from your house if that's needed. The great thing about title agencies is that everyone who works at them are notary publics, where they can travel and have you sign documents wherever you're at. This is convenient, like if you have someone who's in the hospital or someone who moved into an assisted living or something like that, because they're going to need to go to the client rather than the client going somewhere else. But it also works out really well for your first-time homebuyers who want to close in their brand new kitchen or something like that, where it might be a bit more emotionally driven or just like preferred by your client. I was very intimidated before my first closing because it feels like this really big test that you've been preparing for, and then you show up and they're going to quiz you on all the stuff that's happened in the transaction. That's what it felt like, but it's actually not at all like that, and completely the opposite actually, because yes, it's a big day. It's very exciting, high emotions, high tensions. You've probably been through a lot with these clients, but you really don't do much at the table besides support your client. And of course, like, know where the keys are, make sure that the electricity and gas has been transferred. That's something that the client does, but you should remind them to do this like a week before closing. And just, you know, kind of the housekeeper that you've been through the transaction, but you're not gonna even have to really do anything or sign anything. You just sit there, look pretty, and do your thing while your clients are signing papers, and just really be there for them because it's their day. Another way that I support my clients is by making sure I get all the behind the scenes. Like, I'll take pictures of them like doing their first signatures. I always take pictures after of them, with them. I do closing baskets for every client that I close with, so they have something like a token of my appreciation, something to leave like a good taste in their mouth from working with me. I think there's a lot of different unique things you can do as a professional in this business to kind of set yourself apart from other people and bring in the better parts of yourself. Like, I'm definitely a gift giver. I love doing that. So it's really fun for me to go get clients gifts based on like our interactions or their personalities or their interests, maybe where they're moving. So it's a good time. And at the end of the day, the only thing I will urge you to really do no matter what is to remind your clients to bring a blank check and their IDs. People forget this if you don't remind them. And the ID is just essential because you're buying a house. They're trying to record a deed in your name. So like, yeah, you need your ID. But the second one is thought of less, and it's equally as important, because what happens is when title and lending go to compare their numbers, they've been working separately this whole time, right? And then at the end, they need to make sure that everything matches up. And sometimes there's a few fees or something that isn't translated, and that at closing day needs to be accounted for. So that could either mean that you're getting a refund, the title agency is going to give you a check because they over calculated, or if they under calculated, that's when you would need to provide the remaining amount. And you don't want to have to run and get a certified check at the closing table. You just don't want to do that. So bring a blank check, bring your ID, and that is about it, I think. The actual closing experience is relatively quick. Takes like about an hour, sometimes less, and you show up to whatever location you guys decide. You all sit around the table. I try to get there early just to like put my gifts up and make it look nice in the area that we're closing in. And I always bring some extra pens too. That's helpful. Blue or black ink only. And then once everybody gets there, the notary public or title agent will really take over, and they kind of present the documents. They instruct your buyer how to sign all the documents. Same thing with the seller. And then, you know, they might ask you a question here or there. They might just kind of converse with you. I usually just like chat and ask people when they're planning to move in. Do they have any plans? Do they know how they're going to decorate? Like, just kind of getting a feeler for how they've been thinking about the house for the past month. But that is it. And then they sign, and then you're done. You give them the keys. You make sure you get what's called an ALTA at the end, which is where you see all of the fees and your commission amount, which is what allows you to submit the transaction at your brokerage and get paid for that transaction. Closing date does equal payday in this business. And yeah, that's it. That's closing day. You go home and then you don't talk to those clients anymore for a while, which is kind of sad, but they definitely will reach out to you with questions. My experience, they always have something that they think of after the fact, which makes total sense. You can't really know everything as a first-time home buyer until you're like in it. You can expect to hear from them throughout the process and after, and then hopefully you can continue to work with them if they ever need to sell or if they want to buy something else later down the line too. If I can do this without showing you anybody's information, I don't have anything under contract anymore after Friday, so I need to get rolling with these buyers. It's really challenging to show you this without giving you the info, but these red numbers are who indicates like who I'm actively showing houses to right now. So we've got some great prospects in the works, but I definitely want to get some people in houses this summer. This is the closing gift that we got them. If you watched last week's video, you saw me put it together, but it's just a nautical theme to kind of keep the beach around, even though they won't be living there anymore. And then obviously me and my mom both represented them on the sale and purchase. So Grammy, Mom, Pop, Dad. This is from the both of us.
A lot has changed in 48 hours.
It really has changed since I saw it. It's exciting. I do.
Yeah.
Not gonna shake. You ready?
Yep.
All right.
Lady, running down to the